Thank you so much for attending my PowerPoint presentation on Shadow Shaman, the Sidelane Bandit. Shadow Shaman is a ranged intelligence hero who has two iconic features. The first is holding you still for a really freaking long time, and the second is turning your towers into dust. He accomplishes the first with Hex, an instant disable that lasts almost 3 seconds long, and Shackles, a channeled stun that locks you in place for over 4. As for the unscheduled building demolition, this is owed to his ultimate Mass Serpent Ward. This spell summons a bunch of immobile snakes that deal physical damage, though in the current meta he favors the facet that makes one giant snake that hits for 1,440 damage. If this weren't enough, his innate foul play allows him to occasionally escape certain death by transforming himself into a chicken. Also, he has Ether Shock. These abilities combine to make Shadow Shaman an absolute pick-off demon, because he can keep one enemy hero locked down for longer than the duration of a fresh BKB. After that pick-off, he excels at securing objectives with his snakes, and the ballsiest of us all can take that split-push potential to the extreme. My friends and I have a long-running argument about which ethnicity Shadow Shaman is coded as. I say Indian, but they say either Brazilian or Egyptian. After liking and subscribing, feel free to contribute to this politically correct discussion in the comments. First, let's talk about Shaman's ability to make you play less Dota. With the level 20 talent and the chicken fingers facet, Shadow Shaman is capable of keeping an enemy hero still for 9.6 seconds straight. This puts him up there with Bane as a hero that lets you take a pee break whenever you die. This insane level of CC means that enemy heroes have to be constantly aware of the fact that you might freaking get them split pushing or in a team fight. Always start with Hex due to its instant cast point and then throw a right click to pop chicken finger if you have it, keeping them Hex for an additional second. Then, Shackle. With the right neutral item, this combo can go over 10 seconds, which is more than enough time for your team to wail on the victim without them getting a single word out in their defense. Be sure to shout something cool like, "Hold still, playboy," to further safeguard against enemy interaction. The one weakness of this combo is that Shackles is channeled, which means that a pissed off ogre camp or their stepbrother coming to help can ruin it. Still, if your team can't kill an enemy hero with over 10 seconds of straight disable, you're not going to win the game anyway. Hex, shared with Lion, is also very strong in interrupting enemy blink initiations, so precasting it on heroes like Tidehunter, Enigma, and Magnus is a great way to farm commends from your teammates. Now let's talk about that ulti. The snakes are freaking messed up, dude. These things deal an insane amount of physical damage, which makes them useful for taking towers and Roshan, as well as just dapping up everyone in a team fight. While the normal snakes are good, Massive Serpent Ward is solidly his better facet right now because of how it affects the snake damage scaling. With normal snakes, the enemies can slowly whittle them down one by one to reduce how much damage they deal as a whole. However, with Big Snake, it will continue to deal a sacrilegious amount of damage with every right click, even if it's at 1 HP. It does feed a lot of gold, but if there's a creep wave hitting it or you're just out of sight to deny it in front of Arteezy, it's no more rewarding than killing all of the little ones. It also helps mitigate the niche Alchemist counter, which is nice. However, going Big Snake prevents you from executing the best Shaman strat of them all, which involves putting your opponents in the wage cage. The snakes have a hole in the center of them, which means that you can trap enemy heroes inside of the snakes while using your stun combo to keep them there. If they don't have phased movement or a way to quickly kill them, they're going to be stuck there for quite a while as the damage equivalent of an Amazon factory shift quickly wears down their spirit. At least they don't have to piss in a bottle of Dasani. Now if all of this sounds appealing to you, know that you're not alone. Shaman is one of the most played supports of all time thanks to his fun play pattern and split push potential. You can play him as either a 4 or a 5, but try to pair up with a core that thirsts for the blood of innocence. In the lane, try to focus on trading efficiently with the enemy support or core using Ether Shock and Shackles. The latter has full lifesteal for some reason, which makes it an amazing tool for trading. Pair up with carries like Phantom Assassin, Ursa, and Chaos Knight for an easy meat grinder lane that will handicap the offlaner for the rest of the match. Grab Hex at 4 and think about roaming around to help the other side lane or mid. Once you have snakes, just bomb around the map and kill a tier 1 tower whenever they're up. As long as there's some chip damage on it and a creep wave to soak the tower shots, you can kill towers even with just level 1 ulti. In teamfights, remember to always KYS. Keep yourself safe. Skulk around and try to get good shackles and hexes on the enemy cores, but be sure to steal as many kills as you can with Ether Shock. If your teammates ever get mad at you, politely tell them to keep yourself safe. Alright, so that's normie Shadow Shaman, but maybe you want to have some more fun. If so, consider becoming the Sidelane Bandit. Screw Glimmer, Force Staff, all that shit. If your cores wanted to live, they wouldn't have gotten caught out in the first place. Go Arcane Boots into Blink, same as normal, but then pivot into Refresher Orb and get Boots of Travel for your other foot. Spend the entire game casting Ether Shock from the tree line to push waves and dumpster towers with giant snakes. If you really want to commit to the bit, grab Meteor Hammer, and if you get all of these items, congratulations. The enemy team will now be constantly paranoid about a position 5 popping out from the trees and stealing their barracks. If you see your team fighting, remember that the Sidelane Bandit only kills in self-defense. Use the opportunity to split push the side lane and explain that forcing enemy TPs is actually more valuable than stunning an enemy hero for 10 seconds straight. I wrote a little bit here about how split pushing has been mostly relegated to a backup strategy for most teams. Feel free to read it if you like. Now, if you're tired of losing to this annoying little shit, here are some tips for how to counter him. First, assuming he's actually showing up to fights, try to get some form of unintentional damage to counter foul play. Gyro's flat cannon or a radiance on anybody is enough. It sounds trivial, but leaving Shaman alive means that he can always suicide blink to get a hex off, heal back up with shackles, or use ulti after the fight. So if you do proc foul play, you really want to make sure he doesn't get away with it. Second, if you're going to take a fight, be very mindful of the lane positioning. If the enemy creeps are close enough to a tower, the stakes are much higher than they appear. While the Wage Cage is a threat, most heroes can escape it with an item or a spell or something, so don't let it deter you from shoving out waves on your side of the map. In the event that you're facing the Sidelane Bandit, the best choice is often to force objectives yourselves, since 5 heroes can usually outdamage the snakes. Third, if the cold, unfeeling eye of the serpents falls upon you, have some way to deal with it. Anyone with decent enough attack speed and armor can usually deal with them, though special shout out to Alchemist for dealing with the small snakes and Snapfire for the big ones. Finally, if you're playing one of those heroes that doesn't like going BKB, just swallow your pride and buy it. Yes, I'm sure you're very good at using Counterspell on AM, I bet your reaction times are amazing, but Hex is instant. Having BKB often is the difference between dying with all your spells off cooldown and having a nice chicken dinner. And no, Lincoln's is not enough. Get a BKB and clap his cheeks good and proper. In conclusion, Shadow Shaman is a very fun hero and you should absolutely play him. Remember that by picking Shaman, you're playing a great value version of Bane, Arc Warden, and Lion all at the same time, which instantly wins the draft. Peace on planet Earth.